Merry Christmas.
Oh, right.
At least Christmas is almost over.
Holla goddamn Luya.
We got a half hour. So, what better way to end Christmas than to watch The Breakfast Club, which has nothing to do with Christmas.
At all.
Erin, you saw The Breakfast Club, right?
Once upon a time.
Yeah, so I remember seeing The Breakfast Club years ago, and I remember liking it. I don't know if I'm going to like it anymore now.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a whole bunch of questionable things that went on in the movie, you know, regarding dialogue and action by certain characters. So, you know, we're going to rewatch it and see what we think and try to argue with our younger selves. Isn't that great?
Try not to be too social justice warrior-y and enjoy it.
You know what? I don't take social justice warrior as an insult. I fucking welcome it. If you want to call me a social justice warrior, fine. Bring it on. You know why? I will be a warrior for social... I can't even say the word. I'm so incensed. I will be a warrior for social justice all the time. Bring it on. Insult me. Call me that.
Booyah.
I take it as a compliment. Because social justice is a good thing. And I realize you're being sarcastic. I don't care. Anyway, this is The Breakfast Club. Oh, and if you want to donate to Erin, because this is still the giving season, Erin
My
lost...
life is still a disaster?
Her life is still a disaster when she lost her apartment in a fire. So it's gofundme.com/Erin-needs-things.
It would probably just redirect to that if they didn't put dashes in.
I have no idea. All right, so...
Google it, people.
What we're going to do, we're going to watch The Breakfast Club. And the next thing you're going to hear, it's going to be us after The Breakfast Club talking about it. But then as a bonus, we're recording all our comments while the movie's playing. So after the review, you get to hear what we're saying in the moment. Because we're all about the moment, man.
If you're not sick of hearing us by the end of that part.
If you're not sick of us hearing right now. I'm sick of hearing us right now. So
I'm sick of hearing you all the time.
What? That wasn't funny. So anyway, so thanks for listening. And next you'll probably be hearing the Simple Minds classic, Don't You Forget About Me, while we talk about what we liked about the movie, what we hated about the movie, and what we liked and what we hated about the movie. All right, so speak to you soon.
Yep.
And at least in the movie, they didn't explain why this was called The Breakfast Club. I guess they met around breakfast time.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it started at 7... I'm going to hiccup. It started at 7 a.m. So, I don't know. I guess I'll have to watch behind the scenes. But I want to learn from behind the scenes what a movie means. I want to know by the movie. And I think the letter at the end, I don't think that letter needed to be written. Because the movie kind of explained it. Are you okay? Are you?
I'm thinking.
Oh, you're thinking.
I'm thinking. I'm listening.
No, I thought you were falling asleep.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprisingly wide awake, which is really annoying because it's 1 a.m. and I should be tired.
Yes. So what'd you think of the movie? When was the last time you saw this movie?
I don't know. When I was in high school, I guess.
Oh, okay. So 5 years ago is what you're saying.
Haha.
Yeah. So what'd you think of the movie? As an adult now watching it.
Yeah, it definitely shows, like, especially in the beginning, all their archetypes and... Like, I could tell right from the beginning, like, he's a bully, so he's going to keep talking to get attention and get a rise out of people. Because negative attention is still attention, and that's what he craves. But yeah. I don't know.
Well, you can't say, I don't know. You have to give an opinion. This is a review podcast. Did you like it?
No, I liked it, yeah. I did. Yeah.
So... That's a thumbs up from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think it was... How do you think it held... This movie was made in 1984? So how do you think it held up, you know, date-wise? Do you think it's outdated?
Not as much as I thought it would be.
No, I don't think it's outdated at all. With the exception of some of the music's clearly
obviously,
80s.
because it's 80s.
But as far as the message of the movie, as far as, you know, even their wardrobe isn't that completely 80s. You know, it's
her
not like...
Her nails were, though. Like,
yeah,
nobody has pink. Like, her nails were, like, black, maybe.
Yeah.
Or, like, blue or something to the pink, but...
Yeah. Right. I mean, a little bit, of course, because that was the sign of the times.
Yeah, but actually, her clothes, like, you could wear those today and you wouldn't be
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it wasn't like, looking at it, seeing like the hair up like 5 feet, or the like mesh outfits or anything. So yeah, a movie like this, I think you can definitely show to kids today, and they wouldn't be so taken aback and like, oh my god, this looks so old. Even the way it's shot, the way it's acted, it's definitely not a stereotypical 80s movie. It's not like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of an 80s movie, which, it's not coming to me right now, but it's definitely not one of those. So I'm trying to think as far as, I was looking for something to really criticize, and I guess the biggest thing is when Bender was under the desk. What he did was definitely wrong. And they kind of played it, in this movie, they played it off for a laugh. Mm-hmm. It was both, they played it off for a laugh. You can tell that Claire was angry, but it was something that she kind of dismissed, and by the end of the movie, she was with him. Yeah,
kind of like how women actually are in real life.
So, but what'd you think of the romances in the movie? So 2 romances.
Yeah.
It was between Claire and Bender, and Andrew and Ali Sheedy.
Alison. Well, what was the jock's name?
Andy.
You could tell he wanted to be like a knight in shining armor and like be all like chivalrous and like rescue her from her miserable weirdness. Mm-hmm. That's why he was grilling her.
So, do you think that's the main reason why he was interested in her?
I guess. I don't know.
Well, what do you think?
And she was cute when she got fancied up.
Oh, okay, so that's another criticism of this. Do you think it was because of the way she looked?
No, because he was asking her all this stuff about herself, trying to make her, like, talk about things, because he wanted to listen back before she was all dolled up.
Right, so he had that emotional connection, but then, I guess when she, for lack of a better term, cleaned up, mm-hmm. he saw more of her, and I guess became physically attracted to her as well as emotionally attracted to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you think of the Claire and Bender relationship?
It makes sense to me.
Really?
Because I can understand being, like, attracted to the bad boy when you're supposed to be, like, this prissy mm-hmm. girl, and, like, that's the one thing you're not supposed to be around, and that's the
right.
That makes you want it more.
But he wasn't just the bad... He was such a... Like, again, like, we spoke about this, you'll hear it in the commentary, because the scene where Claire approaches Bender in that closet that he was locked in, and she starts coming onto him and kissing him... The scene before that, Bender was, like, really yelling at her and being, like, very, very mean to her. And I didn't see... I don't understand Claire's motivation all of a sudden to go up to him after just him screaming at her and then all of a sudden, kissing him.
It's hard to explain, but I can get it. Maybe it's a girl thing. But I can understand, like, somebody putting you down and it just makes you want them to want you more and mm-hmm. wants you to, like, come on to them more. It's weird.
But putting you down, like, not just... He wasn't, like, playfully teasing her.
I know.
He was, like, really saying awful things.
I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Right. So can you see the justification in Claire coming on to him like that right after?
I can understand and relate to being attracted to somebody after they say terrible things to you.
Right.
Or, like wanting someone, like, trying harder to get someone's attention or whatever after they put you down or push you away or whatever it is.
Right, so you think Claire was doing that and also as kind of a tool to rebel against her parents?
Right.
Like what Bender said?
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I also think there was genuine, even though he did and said horrible things to her, there was also genuine affection from her. Because they got to know each other.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, maybe because I'm just a crotchety old man now, like, I don't see a justification in this. Or, like, if Claire was my daughter and I found out what the story was, I would ask her, I would say, well, why are you with this guy after he said these horrible things? He was definitely verbally abusive and mentally abusive to her. and physically abusive
Well,
too, and just
she
being
said
under
some
that
shitty
desk.
things to him too.
Yeah, I mean, everybody said shitty things to everybody, but I do think Bender was the worst offender in, as far as like abuse goes, to all the other characters.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
Andy taping the butt cheeks together of the guy, and you saw, and I saw you laughed at that when he first said it, as well as everybody in the movie laughed at that, because it's like, oh, taping guys' butt cheeks together, isn't that funny? But then then it went into removing the tape and what happened.
I didn't really laugh because it was funny to do. I was like, I laughed because it just sounded like such a ridiculous thing to do.
Right.
Like, how does that even work?
So what did you think of Brian, the Anthony Michael Hall character?
I can definitely relate to him because I was like that.
Well, who can you relate to the most?
Kind of all of them in different ways.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was a lot of different things. I wasn't just one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think that's the big takeaway of this movie is that...
But probably the most would be Brian, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
The nerdy one.
Right.
Because I would put the pressure on myself. I didn't have a parent telling me I have to be the best. I was the one that did all the pressuring.
Right.
And, would freak the fuck out if anything wasn't perfect.
Yeah. And I think Brian also had pressure from his parents, too. Like you saw his mom at the beginning.
Yeah.
Are you going to study? And then his sister kind of needling him, too. His little sister, anyway. Who's your favorite character?
I don't know.
Did you have a favorite character?
Not really.
Oh. I think as far as performance, I liked Ali Sheedy's performance the best.
Yeah, I like her squeaks. Those were so cute.
Yeah, even though she probably had the least amount of lines out of all of them, but she seemed to have, anytime she was on screen or anytime she said things, I found myself drawn to her the most.
I did too.
Yeah, because I said this during the commentary. It was a very subtle performance, but it was subtle, but at the same time... Very expressive. She managed to do two things at once, and... just one of those performances where I was just like, wow, I really want to know more about her. And I think writing-wise, what made this so good is that you didn't see more of Alison. You got a little bit of her, and the fact that, one of the best parts of the movie was, when they asked her, well, what did you do to get in here? And she's like, nothing. I just didn't have anything better to do.
She didn't ask her, she just said it.
Yeah, she said it, yeah. So that I found.
I wonder if that's even true. She was such a liar.
Who knows? Yeah, she's such a liar. But I think for the purposes of the movie, it has to be true because it's so funny. Would you recommend this movie to people?
Definitely.
Yeah. Was there anything in this movie was there anything in this movie that you didn't like?
I almost want to see what the next day of school was like for them.
Yeah. Well. That's what I think. What's good about this movie? It's the mystery of that next day.
I don't like.
I know, but what's so good is it leaves it open for interpretation. Like what did happen? What could have happened in it? Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Was that the only thing you didn't like about this movie? Was there anything in it where it's just like, regardless of
Andy's jacket said Cindy.
Huh?
I'm pretty sure the name on Andy's jacket was Cindy.
Maybe that was his last name?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I thought that was weird. And I'm surprised he didn't already have a girlfriend.
I didn't notice that, or maybe he did. I didn't notice that. Yeah. So anything else about the Breakfast Club before we end this?
I'm so confused if that guy was a principal or a teacher.
No, he was a principal.
Because then why were they only talking about being a teacher?
Because he started out as a teacher.
I guess. They didn't mention why he decided to stop being a teacher and become a principal.
Well, I don't think they have to say, but I would assume...
Yeah, they do, goddammit.
I would assume because the money... It's funny, he said he makes $31,000 a year and owns a home. Jesus Christ, it goes to show you.
I know.
Yeah. I think principals around this... I remember in a movie that I did, I played a principal. The movie aged me in it. And plus it was a campy horror movie, so I can get away with, looking goofy and having my hair gray. But I researched what principals do. And I went on the Department of Labor. This was in 2007, I think, 2008. And back then, they made well over six figures principles. So, I guess in 1984 money, you can make a good living. So, yep. But anyway, all right. Well, very good. I thought I would have more of a problem with this movie. I think people took offense to Claire's lipstick trick. It's like, oh, that's all she can do. But my answer to that is that they're fucking teenagers.
Yeah.
And teenagers do, speaking as a former teenager myself, teenagers do stupid things.
Really?
Yeah. And what offends is a strong word. What bothers me about TV shows about kids and movies about kids is that they're written by adults. And what adults tend to forget is that kids aren't as smart as adults. They're smarter than adults in certain ways. I'm not denying that. But the conversations they have, while they're deep on one level, they don't sound like adult conversations.
Right.
And there were some moments of The Breakfast Club, especially with Bender, where he did kind of sound like an adult. But for the most part, I think the conversations were pretty spot on. Mm-hmm. They weren't talking about...
You shut up.
Exactly.
Shut up. Really?
They called each other names.
Nobody I knew was in high school like that.
Exactly. So they called each other names. They argued about ridiculous things. They said mean and terrible things. And I'm not saying adults don't do this, but at least, speaking from my experience from being a kid to being an adult, I remember conversations like that as a kid. We weren't rational. We didn't do rational things. We did stupid things. We did sexual things. We talked about sex. We used, are you still a virgin? Or how many people have you done it with? That conversation they had about Claire, how about they trapped Claire mentally about her admitting that she was a virgin. It's like, well, if you're too sexual, you're a slut. But if you're not sexual enough, you're a prude. And then they said something else about, they even mentioned that trap there, and which is true. But I don't think, as kids, at least when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, we didn't mention that trap. We just mentioned, oh, well, you're a slut or you're a prude. And, we didn't acknowledge how stupid that was and about how no matter what answer you give was wrong, It was just one of those things, And there were different labels as a woman and different labels as a guy. So if you didn't get laid as a guy, you were a fucking wimp and you were weak. Yeah. But if you got laid as a woman, you were a slut. So it's like, well, someone has to be a wimp and someone has to be a slut here, because someone's having sex with, kids are having sex with one another, but it's just different labels for depending on what sex you are or what social status you have in the high school hierarchy. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the best parts of the movie I found was the conversation they had when they really started to get to know each other, and you saw the empathy building. The Emilio Estevez monologue where he showed empathy for the kid whose butt cheeks he taped together. Yeah. That was very important, and you saw how they started to see each other, and what took that was the fact that they were locked in this room together, and they wouldn't be able to see that within themselves when they were out in the real world, because it'd be too embarrassing.
Oh, yeah.
So that I found real, and that's why I think this movie holds up, because that realness is there. And, aside from a few, saying, the F word for gays, I don't even want to say it, because,
Really?
I really don't, because even saying it in a certain context, I guess the older I get, I don't want to give that word power, and there's no place for me to say that word. Okay. Even though if I say it in this context, I'm not being mean and I'm not being offensive by saying it, but just saying that word now, especially, being a white heterosexual male, mm-hmm. I don't want to give the word that power it comes from. Now, people can call me a social justice warrior. People can say, "Hey, man,
I can't say the N word. I can't."
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's the same thing.
I choke when I start to try to say it. It's weird.
But even quoting something or even reading something like Tom Sawyer, I realize context matters. But even saying that it doesn't feel right. Or saying the R word. I had a job for at least a couple of months working with people with disabilities, and I can't tell you how much that word hurt them.
Yeah.
And a word like that was, used clinically in the 70s.
Right.
You know, and it just shows how words change. But, you know, that scene on Bender's locker, he said, open this locker and you die, and using that word as an insult. I said this during the commentary, and I'll say it again. You know, when I was a kid in the 80s and then coming of age in the 90s, that word was used to call somebody a wimp, but it also equated being gay to being a wimp.
Yeah.
And what I love so much about now is that, okay, if you're gay, you're gay. You know, and of course, gay people still
get some shit.
Oh my,
but
they
not
get a lot. They get a lot of shit.
Especially not around here.
Yeah. Well, we're from New York too, so we're kind of spoiled.
In New York, I'm like, yeah, gay people like wear that shit on their shoulder. Like, look at me, motherfucker. I'm probably cooler than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I wish I was a gay guy. Anyway.
Yes.
I had some more gay friends, I guess.
Right. But, you know, we couldn't say that in the 80s. We couldn't say that because, you know, we would be seen as, oh, I can't believe you're friends with this person. Kids, there were no out kids in high school. We had ideas of who was gay and who was...
Like, I swear to God, like, the first, 2 months after I graduated, like, all these people came out that I had no idea. I'm like, how many of these people I had a crush on, and they turned out to be gay? I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, my gaydar is broken as fuck.
Well, listen. But you know, that's the point, though. Like, and especially, we would say, like, oh, that's so gay. Just meaning, oh, it was silly. You know, or it was abnormal.
Well, back in the day, gay meant happy-go-lucky more.
No, it didn't. Well, no, back in the 80s.
Have a fun, happy time. That's before.
Well, no, that was like in the 30s and 40s. I'm talking in the 80s. We're
bringing it back.
In the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I know.
It was an insult, you know, and it's, at least in New York, it's not that. No, or if someone wants to be politically incorrect, if someone wants to try and shock people, if someone wants to troll people, they'll say it. You know, try to get a rise out of people. But the people who say that know they're wrong. And they're just doing it to try to...
Some people do it and don't realize it.
I guess.
Saying something so lame, they'll say that's so gay.
Right.
And
but
that's usually people that are older that grew up back then when that was used more often.
Yeah, I know. But you can't use that as an excuse anymore.
I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm just saying it's part of your vocabulary, and if you don't work on it and stop doing it, it's gonna always be there.
Yeah, well, I mean it's something that's conditioned, and yeah, you know, there are people who still have to. You know, because they're so used to saying it, they'll say it, but they don't necessarily mean it. Saying those words, you know, it's just something that people are so used to, and that they'll say it without even thinking sometimes because it was just something they used growing up. You know, yeah, it takes a while sometimes to try to drop those things, or even something. You know what I try not to say, if there's a group of people, men and women, and people say, hey, you guys. Get over here, you guys. I see that at work all the time. You know, men and women say it. In this movie, people would say it. You know, there were two women there, and they would say, you guys. And even with that, you know, because guys mean men.
That's
a
New York thing, though, especially.
Is it a New York thing?
Well, that's, when you look at, some, entomological little, article.
Hang on while I Google entomological.
You know, they'll say, what is this region? Here's what every different region of a country calls a group of people. And down south it'll be y'all, and in New York it'll be you guys, and in whatever the fuck it's something else, you know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, but still, I mean, guys mean men. So at work when people come in, I don't say you guys, say hey everyone. You know, I try and do that, or hey everybody, or even if there's two guys, if there's two men, I'll say hey you guys because they're guys. But if there's two women, I won't say hey ladies because I find that
ladies.
Hey ladies, say hey girls. I wouldn't say that. I would kind of say hey you two, or how are you two doing? So I wouldn't say that. So I try. I do my best with these kind of things because I do think, you know, I wouldn't have thought this 5 years ago, but I do think the language that you use and words that you, I'm so woke. I do think language matters, and you know, I do my best to try and do that. But
words
you know,
matter.
No one can be perfect, and if someone gets something quote unquote wrong, to jump down their throats, you know, isn't good either. You know, you can explain why what they're saying is wrong, but to insult them isn't the right thing to do. It's trying to use compassion over, you know, becoming a bully yourself. So, and going back to the Breakfast Club, it's kind of what they did. Bender especially treated everyone horribly, and they gave reasons why he was an abused child, even though he's like 40 years old in the movie. He's an abused child, so he's going to lash out at people because that's all he knows. But you can kind of see the redemption at the end. Even though I wish they would have worked on him a little more, they would have worked on his redemption a little more instead of like, oh, I'm redeemed all of a sudden.
Right.
I wish there would have been more seeds planted so the redemption kind of made sense there. The movie needed to be a little longer. But maybe we'll watch, there's some... I bought The Breakfast Club, and I think it was Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I was at Target, and they were both like $3 each or something. And I buy DVDs or Blu-rays, not necessarily for the movie, but because of the extras, and there were some extras in there. I think there's a Breakfast Club documentary, so maybe we'll watch that after I get something to eat. Because I'm finally hungry after eating so much at Christmas.
Yes.
I was so hungry at Christmas that my uncle brought potatoes, and I started eating those. Then I got full of potatoes, and then my mom made vegan lasagna. You notice how I had to say vegan because I'm so pretentious. Ha 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 ha! I'm a stereotype. Ha!
And I made banana bread.
Oh, Erin's banana bread is amazing. But I was so full, but I still ate the lasagna anyway. Mm-hmm. Yep, but now I'm finally getting hungry. So, anyway, do you have anything else to plug, Erin? Do you want to plug your GoFundMe page again?
Sure.
All right, well...
I feel like such a shit asking people for money.
You're not... I mean, you're asking people for... You're not making them pay. Listen, you need some things. No one's twisting anyone's arm.
I literally blew, so much money at the store the other day just getting, pots and pans.
All right, well, you need pots and pans.
Ridiculous.
You need things. Listen.
It sucks.
Anyway, so Erin lost her apartment in a fire. She's staying with friends right now, but, she's in the process of looking for a place. She needs money to get some things, so if you have the means to give, you can donate to Erin at gofundme.com/Erin-needs-things, and you can follow Erin on Twitter at Erin. Do you want to say?
ERUNUEVO. Erin Nuevo.
Yep. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mike Lane Act. That's MikeLaneAct. You can email me at mikelaneact@yahoo.com. You can... What?
I swear to God, the air conditioner's on. It's
oh, God. You can find me on Facebook. In between... She interrupts my plugs. I can't believe this woman.
Everybody already knows where to find you.
No, they don't. That's why I have to tell them. Erin, you have to... Google Mike Lane. There's 1,000 Mike Lanes. Anyway, now that she's leaving the room, I can say my plugs in peace.
Oh.
Shh. It's 1:30 in the morning. I don't want my landlords to yell at me. Mike, where am I? At Mike Lane. Facebook.com/Mike Lane Actor. And please comment, share away on Podbean, Apple Podcasts. I don't even know if it's iTunes anymore. Stitcher, YouTube, all that good stuff. This is on Christmas, so... for those who celebrate Christmas, even for those who don't, I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm an atheist. Christmas is my family. We all get together and we open presents and we eat and we hang out. It's a day for families to get together. That's what the holiday season is. It's Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. If there's no podcast before this, if I don't upload this before this, have a Happy New Year, and do your best to try and take care of each other. All right? So... take care, everyone. Have a good one. And until the next podcast, have some breakfast. Have a good breakfast. A good hearty breakfast. And join a club. Or not. Who gives a fuck? I certainly... Well, I do. I'm going to take that back. I do. I do care. I care about you all. Even if you're an asshole, I care about you. I'm turning over a new leaf. All right. This outro is way too long.
Are you still talking?
I am. All right.
Jeez.
Goodbye. All right. I'm pressing play. God.
No signal.
Oh, fuck.
It broke.
I think it turned off.
Yeah.
Begins with Don't You Forget About Me, and it will end with...
It ends with the 2?
Yeah. It's like classic ending. It's a great song. Huh?
Yeah, I don't hate the song. I usually don't like this genre or this time period of music, and I don't hate the song, which is surprising.
Yeah. I used to not like it because it reminded me of better times, but now I can like it. Now I can like it again.
Better times.
Yeah,
Your
I remember.
life?
Yeah, better
Or-
times in
okay.
my life. Yeah.
I'm like, is that a movie?
No, not when the song came out, but just I remember it reminded me of someone.
Oh, right. Hashimoto. That's a syndrome you don't want.
Mm-hmm. Well, back when movies had long credit sequences. I'm against the long credit sequence. We don't need to.
I'm already bored.
Yeah, we
This
don't
is
need
the
to see
ending
this.
sequence. Like, I don't
We don't
need
need to
this
see
now.
this. We can save the credits
This
to
is
the
like
end.
coming to your seat time. Like, in
Yeah.
the movie theater. Like, oh,
I mean,
shit, I want to get popcorn.
It
I'll
builds
be back.
anticipation, I guess, but I don't need
No,
to
it
build.
doesn't.
You know why I don't need
Makes
to build?
me tired.
No, you know why I don't need to build anticipation? Because there's already like a half hour's worth of previews, so that builds anticipation.
Do they have it that way, that back?
Oh my god, when we saw Star Wars, it was a half
Yeah.
hour worth of preview.
Oh
Oh,
my god, seriously?
there you go. Oh wow, I don't remember the David Bowie quote before that. That's another person I have a problem with. I mean, because he allegedly had sex with an underage girl. Groupies. He denies it, though. Oh. Yeah, that was the 80s. The F word for gay people. That for those who didn't grow up in the 80s, and for those who watched a romanticized version of the 80s from shows like Stranger Things, that F word to describe gay people, and you know what that word is, was used so much. And it wasn't even...
And the 90s, too.
Yeah, in the 90s, too. And so it wasn't even used to describe that you were gay. It was used to describe that you were a wimp. But that doesn't excuse it, because people were calling each other gay all the time, because back then people thought that being gay was a disadvantage and that meant you were weak.
Do we need to rewind it? Because I have no idea. Like, I missed the entire... Like, whatever my Ringwald was saying was...
Fine, we'll rewind it.
Because you keep talking.
Because this movie's anti-gay. It's not like the movie was anti-gay. It was like the 80s were anti-gay. And gay people are still very much oppressed now, but not as oppressed as they were in the 80s. You know, there's still a long way to go with gay rights, but it was especially bad back then.
I didn't realize that pattern was around in the 80s.
What?
Of his scarf.
Oh.
Because I see that on stuff now. That's stupid. Why can't you study in detention?
Because I guess that would, you have to be bored. Did you know he's Charlie Sheen's brother?
Yes.
I know school is going to give a scholarship to discipline.
What do you mean was?
Is. They're still alive.
The resemblance is uncanny.
Yeah. But he also looks like Martin Sheen.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, I know, but like, you know, certain angles, it's like, oh, there's Martin Sheen.
Yeah, he looks a lot more like Martin Sheen than...
Well, the oversized leather jacket. You know, he looked like 25 years old. Judd Nelson.
Mm-hmm. He looks like he could be in the Sheedy Family, too, actually.
Judd Nelson?
A little bit. A little bit. Like, he looks a little bit like Charlie Sheen right now.
Like, Anthony Michael Hall, I think, was like legit 15, 16.
Really?
And you can tell just by looking at him. But I think the rest were... He might have been a little older. I gotta check the ages. Judd Nelson was around 23.
Single word repeated.
Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall were around 16.
She looks older.
You learn.
Yeah. Emilio Estevez was around 22.
My off.
And Ali Sheedy was around 22.
I'm surprised they don't have anybody, like, sitting in there in the room with them the whole time. I mean, that would be punishment for the teacher, but
Yep.
they can grade papers or something, I'm sure.
I hope the principal gets overtime. Oh, it's so relatable just sitting there. Ugh.
Yeah.
Times I had in school being so bored. Like, didn't the teachers know how bored we were?
Why is he not setting off the smoke alarm?
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get bored often, but when I did, it was so painful. Like, even now, I can't. Like, if I sit in a waiting room for more than 5 minutes, I'm ready to claw my face off.
That's why I have something to read. Or a
It
smartphone.
doesn't matter. I still get bored.
No. If I have something to read, I'm fine. I can sit there for a
Yeah,
while.
occasionally I can handle it for about 10-15 minutes if I have something to read.
Well, now you can just watch something on your smartphone.
Assuming it actually works.
Nothing to do when you're locked.
Oh my god, card catalogs.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Dewey Decimal System. Transistor radio. This is set up almost like
Claire,
like exactly like a play.
I want to see a picture of a guy with elephantitis.
It's just so interesting how every single person is like so off the book from an English class of how an archetype should be of that character.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever consider
Prince.
You should not
sushi?
eat. Should have kept it cold.
Right.
What the fuck is going on?
He's training.
Yeah, but usually they're weight cutting too.
Yeah. He does have meat on
You're not
Saturday.
allowed to. You're not allowed to eat when you're in season in wrestling. Like some sugar with your sugar. Jesus Christ.
And when I was in junior high, Pixie Sticks were sold like drugs. Oh my god, kids love them.
You would go to the candy store all the time. I would literally buy a movie theater sized box of Mike and Ike, and I would get a headache from the sugar, and I would keep eating it anyway. I'm like, this is giving me a headache. I'm just gonna keep eating it anyway.
Oh, it's Captain Crunch.
Dude, that's disgusting.
That's actually, I would eat that.
Pixie Sticks and Captain Crunch
Oh
on a
yeah,
sandwich.
in between bread. I would take Doritos. I would eat Doritos between bread.
Oh my god, Doritos on a bagel are the greatest thing ever. Cream cheese and Doritos are like made for each other, but only Cool Ranch. My bagel store used to make, like, I forgot what they called it, but they would put Doritos on a bagel. It was amazing. Because everybody would ask for it. So much rage.
Yep. He's like the Saturday Night Fever collared shirt on. I mean, it's a punishment for the principal, too. He has to spend this Saturday there.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope he's getting overtime. He had a guillotine in his locker.
Drugs. Drugs.
Drugs.
Now, John Hughes, who wrote this, also wrote Weird Science.
Mm-hmm.
And the joke that Anthony Michael Hall made about having, well, not the joke, the line he said about his girlfriend being in Canada, that was actually continued in Weird Science. Anthony Michael Hall's character said that, too. He said, oh, she's in Canada.
Right.
So it was Weird Science was a callback to The Breakfast Club.
Oh, okay.
Same writer.
Makes sense.
80s
How did you not hear
montage.
them?
Too busy looking for coffee.
Or dancing tours.
This is like total 80s montage.
Yeah.
Total 80s music. I wonder what high schools are like now. I haven't been in one
I know, right?
in like since high school.
Mm-hmm. He has 2 different shoes on.
Yep.
He didn't have 2 different shoes on
He
before.
put. Let me see what's his boot is on the floor. He put a sneaker on.
Okay. Where the fuck did he get a sneaker?
I don't know. He probably went in the locker room. Like, Judd Nelson was way too old to play this role.
Yeah, he doesn't even look like a high schooler.
Yeah.
Because he's scary and threatening just like his father, who beats him and abuses him and has done it since he was a kid. And there's the whole reason that he's so fucked up.
Yeah, but you think the principal cares about that?
No. Just saying. It's like Psychology 101.
He like sexually assaulted her under the.
It's like it's funny how the one person, the one character, I thought Ali Sheedy would want to be the one to do it. Of all of them. Wow. That's completely unrealistic.
What?
All that smoke in there?
Yep. Well, I guess they're doing it for effect. So how do they get the smell out?
I guess it doesn't matter? I don't know. What the fuck? Is there PCP in that? Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck, man? Nobody does this. Oh my god, Roy reads much?
Get a fake ID so I can vote.
Are you kidding me?
Want to see what's in my bag?
Go to jail for a long time for that.
That's a lot of tampons. Like, a lot. That's before anybody knew what Afghanistan was.
No, Russia was fighting the war against Afghanistan, and we were supplying Afghanistan with weapons.
Oh.
And one of the leaders of that rebel group against Russia was Osama bin Laden.
If it wasn't,
Parents messed a lot of things
what
up.
did you want to be?
I thought he was a principal.
Oh shit, man.
Well, he probably started out as a teacher.
Listen,
I think they're drinking Schlitz. Oh, PBR, my bad.
I wouldn't count it.
Mm.
School, we're back.
She's the best, Ali Sheedy. Her faces. She's so subtle, too, but she manages to be subtle and expressive at the same time.
The lipstick is not the same color as the lipstick on her lips.
Oh.
Like at all.
That was great, Claire.
I was gonna say, if you've had a gun in your locker, you'd be in jail right now, not in fucking detention.
That's why it was a flare gun.
Yeah, no shit. Did Claire say what she did yet?
At the beginning, her father said that she cut class to go shopping.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
This is like 80s instrumental music.
Like, how is the guy not hearing them right now?
Huh?
How is the guy not hearing
He's in the basement with the janitor.
Oh, right, I forgot. They're hanging out.
So the archetypes that you mentioned,
Yeah.
that were so there, with the brilliance of this movie is that they're coming together now, and it shows the different sides of everyone.
Mm.
So no one's stereotypical. It's just like that on the surface. They all have these different levels.
Once
of
their walls come down a
exactly.
little bit. Yeah.
And the fact they're going stir crazy because they're all locked in this one room.
Yeah.
Shit starts to come out, and you really get to know someone.
Yeah.
And what Claire was saying is exactly right, and what Brian was saying, come Monday, things are going to be different.
Exactly, yeah. They're all going to go back to their...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those are the different social structures they have, and the different gangs and cliques.
They maintain their image.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in situations like that where it was the same thing.
What?
I've been in situations where a lot of people from different groups bonded over an evening, and then, come Monday, we didn't know each other anymore.
I was able to kind of drift through different groups.
Oh, I didn't have a group either.
Yeah.
Because I was in all honors, but I was also a varsity athlete.
Right.
And I had all my friends, half my friends were in the drama club, so I was a floater.
Yeah, I was a floater too. I mean, if you looked at me, I was a metalhead because I had a mullet and I wore Metallica shirts, but I also played football and lacrosse.
Yeah.
But my grades were pretty good too.
Why the fuck is he in there?
Remember he...
Yeah, but didn't he know... Didn't What's-His-Face know that he came out of it?
No, remember he said, "What's that ruckus?"
Oh, right.
I think a criticism this movie got is, now that she's cleaned up, he,
Well, you could tell he kind of had a thing for her before, though, I guess.
That's what I was going to say. He was starting to bond with her more. But I guess when her appearance changed a little bit, he, I guess maybe became more physically attracted to her. But you can tell he was kind of bonding with her to begin with. So I don't know if the message of this movie is, well, if you just look better, people will like you more. This was kind of a stretch. Because the scene before this, he was fucking railing into her. He was really... Like, I don't know how Claire... was that a jump? Because he was really insulting her a couple of scenes before. Why would she walk into the closet and start coming on to him?
Because she's not supposed to be with a guy like that.
Yeah, I know, but think of the scene before. Like, what is her motivation to all of a sudden start kissing him?
Because it's like negging. You know how, like, you put someone down and then it makes them want you to like them more?
Yeah, but I didn't even... But from the transition from that scene to Claire being interested in him, they didn't explain it. She just... Right? The scene before that was... He was really screamed at her. And all of a sudden she starts kissing him?
No, they're holding hands, give me a break.
Who? The Emilio Estevez?
No, yeah. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, the romance, it wasn't fleshed out enough. You saw hints of it,
yeah,
but it wasn't enough. Like, there were seeds, but it wasn't enough. So now
where the fuck did she get that shirt from?
It might have been in her bag. So it was almost like this movie had to have a romance.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of obvious it would happen.
It was obvious because it's just the predictability of movies, but it was too much of a jump. But there were so many great moments in this movie, but, some kind of unrealistic ones, and, too many jumps.
Really? They're making out in front of her dad's car? I'm sure.
Well, remember the dialogue they had?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he's way too old. I think he was 25, but he looks like 30.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back in the 80s, guys were only allowed to have earrings in their left ear, or else they'd be considered gay. Oh, Emilio Estevez got top billing.
And congrats, Emilio, on the top billing. I just want to add one more thing before I go, making this, like, my outros even longer. I forgot to mention during the review that I find it wrong that Molly Ringwald was 16 during this and Judd Nelson was 25 when they made this, and they kissed in it. So I don't know the legality in California that whether a 16-year-old can make out with a 25-year-old, but ethically it's just wrong. So I just wanted to point that out, and I also wanted to point out that the scene where Bender was under the desk before he sexually assaulted Molly Ringwald's character, there was a crotch shot, but from what I've read, it wasn't the woman wasn't Molly Ringwald. It was Molly Ringwald's body double because Molly Ringwald was only 16. So those are two things I forgot, and because it's my podcast, I can point those out. So thanks for listening once again, and once again, I will give the plugs. So you can follow Erin on Twitter at erunnuevo. That's ERUNUEVO on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Lane Act. That's MikeLaneAct. On Facebook at Mike Lane Actor. Please comment, share on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, and I also want to give Erin's plug for her GoFundMe. So it's I'm trying to pull it up as we speak. There it is. It's gofund.me/Erin-needs-things. So she can use your help if you're able to help, because she lost her apartment in a fire. So once again, thanks for listening, and until next time, bye!